Everybody, this is Gamer with Opinion. I'm going to do a small video about Iberians in Home Remastered. I'll be playing them in the Imperium Serectum mod. Um, it says to start with, to understand Iberians, because not so many people are playing them. And I found out that they are actually very well represented in Serectum. I'm showing here a I'm showing here a study. It's part of a study actually. It's part of a French study. The French study has been done about the Hellenicization of in Mediterranean in the time of the Punic War. It was from a colloque in Toulouse, France, in 2005. Not going to go through all the things, but basically here is an interesting part for people to understand. Maybe the Iberians and their relation with the Romans. They're saying here, and it's quite true, that they're describing the equipment and they're saying that the equipment is, and the fighting tactics are very close to what the Romans would actually use at that time. We're talking Ground Age Rome here, so because we're talking right in the Scipio era, which is the Punic War. Um, the the Iberians have modified their equipment a bit when they started serving under Scipio and under Hannibal, when the Punic War was raging and the Iberian Peninsula was a war theater. Um, so then there has been some modification to helmets, shields, and especially swords. And the sword is basically a cutting, thrusting weapon, kind of a short sword type of thing. Actually, it's a gladius type. And as Livy put it quite aptly, the Iberians were instructor aetists, which means that they could fight in the military art in ranged battles, meaning that they actually were not savage barbarian hoarding and raging at people and this and that. They were actually fighting in close units, and they would actually use tactics that are very similar to Romans, which brings the question to how much intercultural exchange has been done between those people and how much influence the Iberians did bring in the Roman army. One thing that is to be noticed is that the weapon I was talking about, here's a description about that starting this and that. So like you can see, this is a very lengthy, and it's just part of a colloque. It's a very lengthy. I love this. It's a comparative table of the Roman Republican and Iberian Celtarian weaponry. This is actually really, really informative. And since I'm working on a mod which will be for remastered, and it'll be in Bronze Age, at the very, very start of Rome, so the Etruscan League will be a power to reckon with in that mod. This is full of useful information. But the point that I wanted to bring was simply that the sword that was used by the Iberians when they were serving under Scipio and under Hannibal actually became a classical weapon, classical gladius in the Roman army later on. There were two types of gladius. One of them was the Iberia one, which name says it all. it was coming from the Iberians. Other thing to be noticed, the pili that the pila actually, but pili that the Romans were using have been modified to fit more with the Iberians one, and the skirmishing armies of the Romans have been heavily influenced by the Iberian tactics. So before that, they were more inspired from Etruscan Hellenistic type of VI type. When they started working with the Iberians, their skirmisher became more like all-terrain force that would basically engage the enemy, retreat, engage, retreat, engage, retreat. Which brings another point that people underestimate in old battles. Uh, we tend to picture battles like old battles as range armies that would, okay, jeer and taunt and do war cries and stuff and throw weapons, range weapons, and then the infantry would advance under the cover of the missiles provided by their rear missiles and so on and so forth. And then they would engage in formation and fight tirelessly until one side prevails, which couldn't be further from the truth. A battle in the old age would last hours. We're meaning from dusk to dawn, sometime well over into the night. Uh, you cannot bear armor, swing swords, having heavy shields for actually effectively more than 3 minutes. And honestly, 45 seconds to 1 minute is the actual real fighting efficiency you are getting. After that, your arms are starting to tire, your legs are starting to tire also. Your shield arm especially suffers a lot because you are blocking blows, you are blocking body blows, shield bash is a thing. I did in my younger days medieval and antique fighting recreation. I can tell you that with just a set of armor, basic set of armor, not even, we're not even talking metal, we're just talking the reinforced textile. Uh, it's already a pain to fight more than 2 minutes. So, what would happen actually is that they would engage from a very long range for the longest time. They had ways of resupplying ammos. One of the tactics that the Roman were encountering a lot from Iberians and other barbarians tribes was that when the Romans were throwing their pili, the vanguard would go, so of the opposing side, of course, would go take the pili and throw them back at the Romans, saving their own ammunition. The skirmishers were actually using the Roman ammos and throwing them back. Marius had that problem, especially with the Germans, barbarians. Thus, the Marian reforms. The Marian reforms were all, as people think, oh, he created a professional army corps and just restructured the armies. It was deeper than that. One of the major achievements of Marius in the reform was the reform of the pili. First, he shortened it a bit, but second, and that's the amazingly simple trick that he came up with, is that he modified the head of the pili with two rivets. Those basically pop rivets. Those rivets would break at about 30 pounds of pressure. So the idea is that you're throwing the pili, hits either the ground or the target or shield. The head separates from the shaft, thus rendering it unusable. Furthermore, after battle, You can collect shafted heads, just pop back some rivet, which is really easy to do, especially since Roman were using portable forges, and you have a new stack of pili. You have recuperated your pilis, or a heavy percentage of them anyways. That in itself is pretty brilliant from Marius, but the other thing that is brilliant about this little thing is that Marius, since he was seen as by the Senate as a novo homo, a new man, thus not being of patrician blood, actually one of the insults that was thrown at Marius commonly was that he had no Greek, he couldn't speak Greek, because he had a heavy accent in Greek and his Greek was limited. And at the time, if you didn't speak Greek, you were considered by the patricians to be of lower stock. So, domesticated, domesticated barbarian, let's say. Um, so what Marius did is that, okay, since I can't be Senate material and this and that, there's something that people in the Senate can't do that common people can. It is owning business. So Marius was actually owning the factory that was producing the new pili, which had an exclusive contract with the Republic, thus generating amounts of profits for Marius that were crazily high, which he used to finance his army in Germany and buying the loyalty of his armies, and that's how he actually was able to break the Republican system and become consul, well, 7 times, let's say, but really he had only maybe 5 good runs, and even then I'm pushing it a bit. Uh, um, but I'm digressing. So, um, Iberians are very misunderstood and also underestimated by regular people that are not into digging into history. So are the Gauls, so are the Danes. The tribes in themselves had a complex system of relationship and this and that. People tend to forget that early on, Rome was sacked by the Gauls, but the Gauls didn't go just to Rome. They went all the way to Ephesus and raided the oracle there. It was one of the biggest raid that was done at the time, one of the best heist that was done at the time. So we tend to underestimate the barbarian tribes because we look at history through the eyes of the Romans. And if there's one thing that Romans were good at, were actually diminishing the importance of their adversaries and diminishing especially their culture, while absorbing, adapting whatever they could from said cultures that would serve their purpose. Uh, so it's kind of hard sometimes for those people to recreate it because whatever little writing there could have been, Romans were very much into destroying them. So that doesn't leave much records, and what we have to go on is historian like Polybius and Livy and Diodorus and Strabos and Sueton and so on and so forth, but they're basically all Romans or Hellenistic Romans, so it doesn't paint really good pictures. Later on, we have better commentaries as we have more people involved into Roman affairs, and so we have commentaries from outside sources. It makes it easier to have a better picture. Anyways, so let's move on to the game.